It's my birthday today, and I thought, what can I buy myself? I could get myself a new torch. I thought, nah, let's do something more interesting than that. Instead of buying a gadget, let's buy an experience. How can I celebrate my birthday and really in a very, very meaningful way? Well, I've come to Wales to begin with. My ancestors come from Wales. That's pretty good. Don't worry, I'm not going to do any Welsh accent. It's the most beautiful accent in the world, and I'm not going to defile it by trying. But I thought, you know what I should do? I should drive my all-time favourite vehicle, bar none. Unbelievable. That is the most beautiful vehicle ever created by the hand of man. Jonathan, how are you?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. Nice to meet you.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit overwhelmed. It is exactly like mine.
Really?
It is so. I mean, I know I wanted one similar to my old one.
Yes.
It is a dead ringer.
Gosh.
Even you've upgraded the seats.
Yes, the teddy bear seats.
Yeah, I did that too. Exactly the same.
Yes. Oh, the
I had exactly the same.
Yeah. Good.
What year is it?
72.
72.
Yes. Yes. So I'm trying to think when it was first registered. I've got a feeling it's September, but yes.
Mine was a 72.
Really?
Mine was a January 72.
Right. So 6 months apart.
So the same people built this as built mine.
Yes.
Did you know those same people built those vehicles that went Trans-America, Alaska to Cape Horn?
I didn't know
same,
that. But
same 6 months. First 6 months of
Really?
1972, built mine, built those, built this.
They got it right first time.
They got it right. Well, I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't go ahead.
Little things. Cosmetic things.
What a beauty. The Range Rover was designed in 1969, and most of the design was credited to a man called Spen King. And there is Spen King working on his masterful design. This model was actually made in 1969 as the mock-up for the original. He must have been an absolute genius, or he had the ability to foresee the future, because not only was it, I wouldn't say the very first vehicle with disc brakes all round, it wasn't, but it was certainly the first station wagon with disc brakes all around. First with coil springs all round. Why coil springs? More comfortable.
Full differential to stop wind-up on the drive shaft. That gives you balanced drive.
And off-road, more articulation.
The proven V8 Rover engine adapted to go-anywhere conditions.
They put a V8 engine in it. That in itself is remarkable, because if you think about England in the late 60s, early 70s, it was about austerity. And they put an American-designed V8 engine in it? What were they thinking? They were thinking global. They were thinking that this vehicle could be a success around the world, including North America. And they were absolutely right. So he foresaw the future. But there's one thing about this vehicle that even Spen King, I don't believe, realized was happening when this vehicle was released. I credit it as the vehicle that started all of this. It was the first four-wheel drive station wagon that not only performed really well on road, was amazingly good off it, but it looked good. So much so that it became a fashion statement. It was the very first four-wheel drive station wagon to become a fashion accessory. And that's why I see it, and I think the world sees the Range Rover, this particular one, as the seed, the kernel, the thing that started the mass popularity of four-wheel drive station wagons that we see every day today. Range Rover was unique in many other ways as well. For example, being two-doored, how do you get out if you're sitting in the back in the emergency? Well, there is the catch for the back door and levers to... There you go, you get the gist, don't you? And it's supposed to, let's see if it works, almost, halfway. Go back automatically to its exact position that it was when you pushed it forward. That is what the idea was, and it was pretty close to it. But one of the most annoying factors for me was this thing here. And so again, to solve the problem, what do you do if you're sitting in the back and you need to get out and the seat belt is now blocking your way? Well, you do is you mount the seat belt in the seat itself. That might have been a world first. The tailgate, of course, immensely practical and very heavy, solidly built, and in fact you can put a heavy load on the back of this. Only the Range Rover, the current Range Rover, has kept this feature. This is one of the best parts about this vehicle, is the fact that it has this drop-down tailgate. And in modern designs, they've done away with it because it's cheaper. Full-time four-wheel drive was unique for a station wagon. The only other vehicle at the time that I know of that had it was the Jensen FF. What that did for the vehicle is it gave it stability. Now, four-wheel drive means you have neutral steering, neutral braking, neutral handling. It made the vehicle very, very safe and very nice to drive, even in quite tricky, twisty roads, because it gripped so well. But it leaned terribly. Without that full-time four-wheel drive, this vehicle would have been probably quite dangerous to drive. This major nostalgia, it's just so, it's wonderful. It's all coming back to me. I mean, it's as if I've never stepped out of it. Listen to this. Oh. Heaven. It's a bit of great. If it doesn't go into first gear, just slip into second and then go straight into first. I did that as automatically as if this vehicle that I still owned it. Clutch takes quite high up. Oh, what a day, boy, what a day. This is just fantastic. Oh, you know, to buy a Range Rover now, a classic, really, you don't buy it to drive, you really don't buy it to use. You buy it as a thing of beauty. You know, it's the kind of thing that you would want to park in, you know, just off the dining room. So, you know, having people over for dinner, you could, you know, if the conversation got boring, you could, you know, look out your Range Rover, and you know, that's what I would buy one of these for. It's so beautiful. And every now and again, take it out for a little drive up the Welsh countryside. What better thing to do on one's birthday? The early Range Rover had very few instruments in the vehicle itself. I mean, speedo, fuel, and water temperature. But it had another vital gauge that actually came with every driver. It was a gearbox oil temperature gauge, and it consists of these two fingers. And what you do is you simply wrap it around the transfer gear lever, and it gives you the temperature of the oil, which in this case is comfortably warm. I remember days in the Kalahari where I would go down like this, and it would be so hot I would actually stop the car. Oh, the brakes, yes, all coming back to me now. Yes, not great. Now, the Range Rover was one of the first vehicles, the very, very first vehicles, with disc brakes all round, front and back. That was a huge thing in the 1970s, to have a vehicle with disc brakes all round. The most expensive sports cars, a lot of them didn't have disc brakes. Now, when winding up the window, you need you need to go to the gym every now and again, and after a while you don't need to go back to the gym because your right arm is much, much bigger than the left arm. In all, I did a little under 200,000 kilometers in mine. I owned it for 8 years, 8 months and 8 days as it happened, and kept a diary, and every bit of work I did on the vehicle from the day I bought it, I kept a diary. It's a very thick diary, but it was a fantastic time. And if I had bought something less interesting like a Hilux or far more reliable, and I would never have learnt what I learnt about four-wheel driving, about fixing, about machinery, about gearboxes, axles and carburetors and all of the rest of it.
We're lost. We're in the middle of the Mapani trees. We're on our way to Savuti, but the road has made a detour around some big lakes. And the road is forked here, and there's a bit of a used section here, a bit of an unused section there.
The inspiration for my own Range Rover began in 1974 when, living in England, my father purchased one with the express purpose of returning to Africa on a mail ship and then to explore the African bush. It was a hobby of mine at the time that while my father shot Super 8 video, I would make audio recordings of our trips, be it the birds, my thoughts, and in one serendipitous event recorded the sound of us having an accident.
Stuck in the car and having a look at the damage. The damage isn't too bad, other than 2 panels on the side. And we're back on the road now.
And a few days later, having my very first driving lesson. Performance-wise though, pure performance, for 1970 the Range Rover was spectacularly good, on and off-road. It really is an amazing machine for its time. And by an extraordinary coincidence, it was 12 years later that I, with my own Range Rover, on that same stretch of road, also had an accident.
Coming around a blind bend, and unfortunately someone in the Land Rover was also coming around a blind bend, and we connected.
You have a very beautiful machine.
Good, thank you. Well, it's a lot of fun to drive.
It all came back to me.
Yes.
It's as if it was yesterday. But I have just gotten started. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to break down this wall and then put a sort of facade in here with a nice sitting area and a fireplace down here. It will be wonderful in the winter. I have collected Range Rover memorabilia for many years, and this is my favourite single item. It's the colours and trim of the Range Rover as it was first released. And I remember the name of the colours: Lincoln Green, Maasai Red, that's Davos White, the one we're sitting in now, Tuscan Blue, and even Bahama Gold. There was a dusty colour, Sahara dust, that I don't have in this collection. This here is my diary. This is what my diary was to keep this vehicle running. It consists of 40 pages of it. An obsession? I think it could be categorized as an obsession. And as I was obsessed with Range Rovers, and a young lad, single, thought to myself, you know, one day, just one day, I might do an expedition such as this. The Darien Breakthrough. The expedition to drive from Alaska to Cape Horn, first done in one run, single run, by the British Army driving 2 Range Rovers.
The Range Rovers, from which the snows of Alaska had so recently melted, were moving now at an average of 2.5 miles a day in a temperature of 90 to 100 in the jungle shade and 85% humidity.
Well, this is the actual vehicle, the British Motor Museum near Birmingham. Very battered. And this Tuscan Blue example is the very first production Range Rover ever built. YVB153H is quite a famous ridge number when it comes to Range Rovers. This very vehicle in Tuscan Blue was used as one of their marketing vehicle. They drove it over the hills of Wales and they took fantastic photographs of it. And here it is here. This was, I think, the very first, it might have been the second Range Rover brochure ever printed. And I keep it today, and it is a treasured possession. I got to know this engine bay, the heaviest bonnet in the history of motoring. I got to know it intimately through 8 years of working on it. I actually drowned the engine once. I was pulling a boat, actually launching a boat, and then pulling a trailer out of a river. And little did I know that pipe had come off the differential lock actuator, which is vacuum powered by engine vacuum, and it sucked in water and sand into the crankcase and, well, virtually destroyed the engine, and I rebuilt it myself. And did you know that this vehicle has only 3 fuses? Can you imagine? 3. The electrics were so bad, and it's actually quite well known that Lucas, that made the electrics, had a slogan that everybody respected, and that slogan was, "Get home before dark." Not only am I in a piece of British motoring history, but I'm at a place called Pendine Sands, probably, well, certainly one of Britain's most important historical motoring landmarks. It was here that in 1927 the world land speed record was broken. Can you imagine that? Driving at I don't know how many miles an hour on this amazing, amazing beach. Even now they have sports speed events on the sands of Pendine. What a thing to do, to drive a Range Rover on this beach. It's fantastic! This is the best thing ever! I just want to drive into the sea. Oh wow, what a day, what a day, what a day. It's fantastic. Oh, stop smiling. Oh man, now that's a good birthday.
You're the chief, you start.
David Tucker from Wales, Jonathan Hudson from Devon, Range Rover from Solihull.
That's right. Where is it? Pendine Sands.
Pendine Sands, Southern Wales.
West Wales. Southern West Wales.
Thank you.
We'll compromise.
I was close.